Assalamu alaikum students, I am Shiza Noor, your biology teacher, and I welcome you all to DPS online classes. So students, today's lecture will have very important objectives as you will be able to recognize the basic organs for respiration. You will be able to understand the structure of lungs as well as its other associated parts. You will get to know about the mechanism of breathing and the working of respiratory center in our brain. And at the end, I shall explain you about the comparison between inspired and expired air. So let's start our topic, which is chapter number 10, gaseous exchange. As this chapter is already under discussion because in last lecture you have studied about the air passageway. And in today's lecture, we will discuss about the main organs or the main parts of our body which are responsible for this gaseous exchange. The main contents that we are going to discuss are lungs, mechanism of breathing, and comparison of inspired and expired air. So I shall start from the basic organs of respiration, which means lungs. As we all know, a pair of lungs is present in all humans. As you can see in this picture, there is a pair of lung, 1 and 2. We can name them as left lung and right lung. Now, what is the actual location of lungs in our body? The lungs are placed in this space or cavity, which is called chest cavity or thoracic cavity. Apart from this thoracic cavity, you can see 12 pair of ribs, which are collectively called rib cage. Along with this rib cage, there are some specific muscles called rib muscles, or you can say intercostal muscles. And at the end, you can see a dome-shaped structure or a fibrous sheet, which is called diaphragm. So the main associated parts of lungs are thoracic cavity, the actual location where lungs are placed, 12 pairs of ribs, which means rib cage, intercostal muscles, or we can say rib muscles, and a thick muscular structure which is called diaphragm. Moving on to the next. So students, lungs are quite spongy and elastic organs because they are very delicate organs of our body. And they also have blood vessels which comes from other pulmonary arteries and veins. In this picture, you can see a pair of lung. Here is the right lung and the left lung. There is a slight difference between right lung and left lung. The right lung has 3 lobes, while left lung has only 2 lobes. In case of right lung, you can say that this is a superior lobe, middle lobe, and inferior lobe. In left lung, it is superior lobe and inferior lobe. So apparently, right lung is bigger, having 3 lobes, while left lung has 2 lobes and is smaller as compared to the right lung. Now students, apart from all these important parts, there is another very important part of lungs which surrounds the lungs, and that is pleural membrane. This is very important membrane. It surrounds the lungs and it also lines the inner wall of the chest cavity, as you can see here. So this membrane has a fluid inside it. As you can see here, this yellowish area is pleural fluid, which is very important for the movement of lungs. So the pleural membrane is a thin fluid-filled membrane that surrounds the outer surface of the lungs and also lines the inner wall of the chest cavity. Now, what is the function of pleural fluid? This fluid provides the lubrication for expansion and contraction of the lungs, which means this fluid is very important for the contraction and relaxation movement of the lungs. So students, ये थे lungs के basic important parts. Now the next topic is about the working of lungs, which means breathing or gaseous exchange. So let us know what is breathing. अगर मैं बहुत simple से words में कहूँ तो breathing क्या है? When you intake a gas or inhale a gas and you exhale out gas. This inhaling and exhaling of gas is called breathing. And in other refined words, we can say the physical movements associated with the gaseous exchange are called breathing. Or in very simple words, we can say the process of moving air into and out of the lungs is called breathing. Now this process of breathing has two important phases, जैसे भी हम बात कर रहे थे, taking in of the gas and exhaling out of the gas. So inhalation is the first phase, which means to take in the gas, or it is also called inspiration. Number two, exhaling out of the gas, which means exhalation, और इसको हम expiration भी कह सकते हैं. So let's start the first process, which is inhalation or inspiration. Inspiration or inhalation, as I told you earlier, that it happens when air moves into our lungs. जब हम कोई air intake करते हैं, inhale करते हैं, तो that procedure is called inhalation or inspiration. Now there are two very important movements which control this procedure. The movement of rib muscles and the movement of diaphragm. The rib muscles contract and the ribs are raised, as you can see in this diagram. जब rib muscles contract होंगे तो rib cage अपनी actual position से थोड़ा raised up हो जाएगा. Similarly, diaphragm contracts and pulls downwards. Diaphragm एक dome shaped structure है, but यहाँ पर जब ये contract होगा तो it will get downwards. Now due to this movement, there will be an increase in the space of thoracic cavity. Now this space which is increased will decrease the pressure on lungs. और जब lungs पे pressure decrease होगा, the lungs will get expand. उन्हें space मिल जाएगी and they will get expand. Due to this expansion of lungs, the air will rush into your lungs. The two important movements of rib muscles and diaphragm will decrease the pressure on lungs and they will get expand, and this allows the air to rush into the lungs. So this was about the process of inhalation or inspiration. So students, the next process is expiration or exhalation. After gaseous exchange, the impure air from our body is exhaled out. Impure air, which means it contains some gases which are unnecessary or harmful for our body, and they needed to be expelled out of your body. Now again, the two movements are involved in this process: the relaxation of rib muscles and relaxation of diaphragm. So as the rib muscles relaxed, the rib cage will get back to its original position, as you can see in this diagram. जब rib muscles contract करेंगे, rib cage वापस अपनी original position में set हो जाएगा. In the same case, diaphragm relaxes and become dome shaped, जो कि उसकी original position hai, as you can see here, it is dome shaped structure. And both these relaxation movements will reduce the space of thoracic cavity. And as the space of thoracic cavity is reduced, the pressure on the lungs increases, they get contract, which allow the air to expel out. Space of thoracic cavity का कम होना pressure को increase करता है lungs पे, due to which they become contract. And as they get contract, the air is expelled out, thus completing the process of expiration or exhalation. We can differentiate between both these phases. Let us discuss inhalation. To breathe in or to take in air is called inhalation. The diaphragm contracts and flattens, as well as the rib muscles also get contracts. Volume in the thoracic cavity increased, or you can say space in the thoracic cavity is increased. The lungs get expand, air pressure in the lungs decreased, and due to this difference in air pressure, it causes the air to rush into your lungs. Now what happens in exhalation? When we breathe out the air or impure air from our body, this is called exhalation. The diaphragm expand and relax. You can say ये दोबारा dome shaped structure में चला जाता है. Volume in the thoracic cavity decreased. The lungs compress or contract. Air pressure in the lungs increases, and due to this increase in air pressure, the air rushes out of your lungs. So this is the main difference between inhalation and exhalation. So student, जैसे हम बात कर रहे हैं about two different movements, inhale करना and exhale करना, there must be some center or coordinator in our body which control these breathing movements. And obviously, the main coordinator in our body is brain. Every process or every movement in our body is basically controlled by our brain. In case of breathing movement, a respiratory center, which is a specific part in our brain, is responsible for controlling the breathing rate in humans. This respiratory center is very sensitive to the concentration of carbon dioxide in blood. And what does it mean? कि carbon dioxide की concentration का कम होना या ज़्यादा होना. This is what respiratory center is sensitive to. For example, if you are doing some hard work or exercise, there will be more production of carbon dioxide in your blood. And as there is more production of carbon dioxide in blood, it will stimulate the respiratory center in our brain. अब ये respiratory center क्या करेगा? It will start sending messages to the rib muscles and diaphragm, thus increasing the rate. क्योंकि rib muscles and diaphragm, they will both get contract, relax, and this will increase the breathing rate in humans. Now, if you are sitting at a rest position or a normal position, you are not doing any hard work, then in that case, the breathing rate will be 16 to 20 times per minute. And in case if you are doing some hard physical work, it will be 30 to 40 times per minute. Breathing is an involuntary process. You cannot control it, though we can control it, but for a very short time, not for a long time. Okay students, as we are talking about two different type of air, inspired and expired air. So we have a comparison between inspired and expired air on the basis of some very common features. If we talk about the amount of oxygen, it was 21% in inspired air and 16% in expired air. The amount of carbon dioxide in inspired air is 0.04%, while in case of expired air, it is 4%. The amount of nitrogen is same in both inspired and expired air, which means it is 79%, because it is harmful for our body. It is expired or exhaled out of your body. If we talk about amount of water vapors, this amount is variable in inspired air because it depends upon the environment in which you are breathing in. For example, it may be a cold area, it may be temperate, or a hot area. In case of expired air, the amount of water vapor is saturated. Now, what is the amount of dust particles in both these type of air? It is variable in inspired air and almost none in expired air. And temperature is variable in inspired air, while in case of expired air, it is almost equal to body temperature, which means 37 degrees centigrade. Okay students, so we have discussed about thoracic cavity, rib cage and diaphragm, which are important associated parts of lungs. It also consists of pleural membrane, which is a fluid-filled space around the lungs. The two pair of lungs, left and right lung, have lobes. Right lung has 3 lobes, as you can see, and left lung has only 2 lobes. And because of this, right lung is bigger as compared to the left lung. Both these lungs are associated externally to bronchi, which leads and extend into trachea. The trachea has C-shaped cartilage which prevent it from collapsing, and this leads into pharynx. Now, breathing is a mechanism which has 2 important phases: inhalation, in which we take in the oxygen-rich air into our lungs, and the second phase is exhalation, in which we expel out the impure air from our lungs. And both these phases completes the mechanism of breathing by contraction and relaxation of lungs. Students, now we will assess our lecture by some multiple choice questions, short question answers and long question answers. Here are some important MCQs relevant to this topic. Number 1, the chest wall is made up of dash pair of ribs. The options are 6, 8, 10 or 12. And the correct answer is 12 pairs of ribs. Number 2, the normal breathing rate in humans is dash per minute. The options are 12 to 18 times, 16 to 20 times, 20 to 25 times, or 25 to 30 times. The correct answer is 16 to 20 times per minute. Number 3, the respiratory center in our brain is sensitive to the concentration of dash in blood. The options are oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen or water. The correct answer is carbon dioxide. Number 4, the percentage of oxygen in inspired air is, the options are 19%, 20%, 21% or 24%. And the correct answer is 21%. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, अब हम कुछ शॉर्ट क्वेश्चन आंसर्स भी डिस्कस कर लेते हैं. नंबर 1, व्हाट आर लंग्स, राइट देयर फंक्शन. इसमें आप लंग्स की बेसिक डेफिनेशन राइट करेंगे along with its other associated parts like rib cage, intercostal muscles, diaphragm, ischiation, which is thoracic cavity, and you will also write about its main function, which means breathing. or respiration. Number 2, what is pleural membrane? Write its function. अब pleural membrane की definition write करेंगे that it is the membrane which surrounds the lungs and it has a fluid, pleural fluid, और उसका function आप write कर देंगे. Number 3, define breathing, name its phases. अब ब्रीदिंग की डेफिनेशन राइट करेंगे. ऊपर हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं 2 डेफिनेशंस, उनमें से कोई भी आप राइट कर सकते हैं, और इसके फेजेस के नेम्स विच इज इनहेलेशन एंड एक्सहेलेशन. Number 4, describe the changes which takes place during inspiration and expiration in chest cavity. You will write about the changes which takes place in rib muscles and diaphragm. मतलब हम यहाँ पे contraction और relaxation की बात कर रहे हैं, और chest cavity के अंदर जो space increase और decrease होती है उसके बारे में आप यहाँ पे write करेंगे. Number 5, what is the normal rate of respiration in humans and how it is controlled by brain? नॉर्मल रेट ऑफ रेस्पायरेशन इन ह्यूमन्स 16 to 20 टाइम्स पर मिनट, वो आप राइट करेंगे. और इसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए जो रेस्पिरेटरी सेंटर हमने डिस्कस किया है विच इज़ द मेन पार्ट ऑफ ब्रेन एंड इट इज़ रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर कंट्रोलिंग द ब्रीथिंग रेट, आप उसके बारे में यहाँ पे राइट करेंगे. Number 6, write down the function of respiratory center. यही जो भी मैंने आपको ऊपर बताया that it will control the breathing rate in humans, वो फंक्शन आप यहाँ पे राइट करेंगे. Number 7, what is the percentage of carbon dioxide in exhaled and inhaled air? Inhaled air में कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड की कंसंट्रेशन 0.04% है, while in exhaled air it is 4%. यहाँ पे कोई और भी गैस आपको आ सकती है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल नाइट्रोजन यहाँ पे लिखा आ सकता है कि व्हाट इज़ द परसेंटेज ऑफ नाइट्रोजन और व्हाट इज़ द परसेंटेज ऑफ ऑक्सीजन. तो आपने ये टेबल लर्न कर लेना है अच्छे से, जिसमें कंपैरिजन ऑफ इनहेल्ड और एक्सहेल्ड एयर गिवन है. एंड द लास्ट क्वेश्चन इज डिफरेंशिएट बिटवीन एक्सपायरेशन एंड इंस्पायरेशन. इसमें आप इनके डिफरेंसेस राइट करेंगे, एटलीस्ट 5 डिफरेंसेस जो कि ऊपर टेबल में भी गिवन है. डेफिनेशन and the movement of rib muscles, diaphragm, the space in thoracic cavity, at least 5 differences आपने इन दोनों के राइट करने हैं. Okay, now we shall discuss about long question answers. Number 1, describe important features and function of lungs. Lungs के main features thoracic cavity, rib cage, intercostal muscles, diaphragm and pleural membrane. ये आप राइट करेंगे and at the end आप उसका function राइट कर देंगे which means breathing और respiration. Number 2, describe the mechanism of breathing in detail. You have to write the definition of breathing. देन आप हेडिंग देंगे इसकी फेजेस की, इंस्पायरेशन एंड एक्सपायरेशन, और उन फेजेस को डिस्क्राइब करेंगे. इनका अलग से क्वेश्चन भी आ सकता है. नंबर 3, डिस्क्राइब द स्टेप्स ऑफ इनहेलेशन एंड एक्सहेलेशन. दोनों की डेफिनेशन राइट करके स्टेप बाय स्टेप विच मीन्स कॉन्ट्रैक्शन, रिलैक्सेशन, जितने भी इसके स्टेप्स हैं वो आप 1 by 1 राइट कर देंगे. Okay student, this was all about today's lecture. I hope you are clear with all the concepts. Thank you so much for watching this video. Allah Hafiz.